What if I told you that the future of the entire world doesn't rest on oil or gold, but on a handful of obscure, hard-to-pronounce elements that most people have never even heard of? Rare earth elements are the real currency of power in the 21st century. They're not just metals. They're the foundation of electric cars, fighter jets, wind turbines, and the tech that runs our lives. Here's the twist. One country, China, controls nearly all of it. And this isn't just about trade or economics. It's about global dominance. Imagine a world where wars aren't fought over oil fields, but over mines and factories that produce these rare, indispensable materials. This is the future we're hurtling toward. Today, we'll uncover how China rose to control the lifeblood of modern technology, why the U.S. is scrambling to reclaim its place in this market, and how these 17 unassuming elements could change the world order forever. In case you didn't know, rare earth elements are the hidden backbone of modern society. We're talking about 17 elements, things like neodymium, lanthanum, cerium, and dysprosium, that sound like they belong in a science fiction novel, not in your phone or electric vehicle. These elements are used in everything from smartphones and wind turbines to military technology and electric vehicles. Without them, our world as we know it couldn't exist. Now, here's the shocking part. Most of these elements aren't actually rare at all. They're just difficult and costly to extract in large quantities. The real challenge is finding the right deposits and separating them from other materials, a job that requires advanced technology and huge investments. In 2023, China produced 68% of the world's rare earth elements. But that's not all. They don't just mine it. They control every part of the supply chain. From mining to refining, separating, and manufacturing, China is not only ahead, it's light years ahead. China controls 90% of global rare earth refining capacity and 87% of manufacturing. Let that sink in for a second. They control nearly 9 out of every 10 products that rely on rare earths for their production. But it wasn't always this way. In fact, the U.S. was once the world leader in rare earth extraction and processing. Back in the 1980s, the Mountain Pass mine in California was the only source of rare earths in the U.S., and it was a global powerhouse. However, as China's dominance in rare earth production grew, the U.S. allowed its mining industry to collapse. By the early 2000s, China had effectively cornered the market, buying up mines and investing heavily in extraction technology. So, how did this happen? Well, the United States got complacent, while China used its state-controlled economy to pump resources into rare earth production. And by 2023, 90% of all rare earth refinement was done in China. And when the U.S. was looking for alternatives, it turned out that China wasn't just in control of the mines, it had full control of the infrastructure too. But the story doesn't end there. The U.S. government is finally waking up to the fact that rare earth elements are the new oil, and they need to act fast. In 2022, the Department of Defense awarded a $35 million contract to MP Materials, the owner of the only U.S.-based rare earth mine, Mountain Pass, to create a facility that would process heavy rare earth elements in the U.S. for the first time in decades. While this is a step forward, experts warn that it could take 10 to 20 years before the U.S. can even begin to be competitive with China in this arena. Even with all the money and innovation poured into this effort, it's still a monumental challenge. China's iron grip on the rare earth supply chain makes it nearly impossible for any other country to rival them. As we move toward a future driven by green technologies, clean energy, and electric vehicles, the demand for rare earth elements is set to explode. Experts predict that demand will increase by 3 to 7 times by 2040. Why? Because almost every piece of sustainable tech relies on these elements. Think wind turbines, electric car batteries, solar panels, and even the smart grids that power homes and businesses. And don't think it's just about the tech. Rare earths are essential for national security. Without them, the U.S. military couldn't produce weapon systems like the F-35 fighter jet, the Apache helicopter, or guided missiles. The military's reliance on rare earths for everything from jet engines to lasers makes this a matter of strategic importance. Let's pause here for a moment, because this is where things get really intense. What happens if China decides to shut off the rare earth pipeline to the U.S.? The world saw a preview of this in 2010, when China briefly restricted the export of rare earth elements to Japan after a diplomatic dispute. The result? Japan's high-tech manufacturing sector was crippled, and its economy took a major hit. The U.S. isn't immune to this threat either. If China cut off supply, whether over trade disputes or military tensions, the U.S. would be completely cut off from critical materials needed for everything from smartphones to national defense. It could be an economic and military catastrophe. This is where things get tricky. The race to secure rare earths is more than just about business. It's about geopolitics, security, and global power. China's dominance in the rare earth market is directly tied to its rise as a global superpower. But the U.S. isn't sitting idly by. The U.S. is doing everything it can to break China's monopoly on rare earths. New mining operations, refining plants, and research initiatives are popping up in the U.S., Australia, and Canada, but it will take decades to break the hold China has established. In the meantime, countries are scrambling to find alternative suppliers, and in some cases, building rare earth alliances with China's competitors. While China continues to tighten its grip, the U.S. and other countries are betting big on a future where rare earth elements are a geopolitical tool more powerful than any barrel of oil. But the question remains, will the U.S. be able to break free from China's hold and reclaim its role as a global leader in rare earth production? As technology continues to advance and the world pivots to sustainable energy, the stakes have never been higher. The country that controls the supply of rare earth elements will control the future of energy, technology, and power itself. Who will win this quiet but high-stakes battle for resources? Only time will tell.